Well, good morning. This is Tabasco, the sophisticated biker, and this is not garage therapy. This is pool therapy. Just waiting for the tropical storm. I think it's going to be a while getting here. Not moving real quick, but thought I would jump on here real quick before I have a couple errands to run and address an issue that seems that somebody has decided to hijack one of my platforms or videos to further their own personal agenda by attacking me in hopes of it soiling somebody else's reputation. And I guess I better step up my game because I must convey the fact somehow that I'm somebody that you should fuck with. And I would think that everything that I say about the life that we lived and we still live, and the people that I hang out with, that I might be the last person that somebody would go out of their way to attack. But then again, they didn't attack me. They used me to attack somebody else because they didn't get their way. And, as is typical, the truth rarely matters, but they somehow indicated that. And usually I wouldn't even address this stuff because I really don't give a fuck what anybody thinks about me. But when it affects people that I care about, then it does, then I do care about it. So, for some reason, somebody decided that in watching my videos where I say constantly that I don't trust the entire system and that I think it's basically being run by people above our government, whether it be the financial corporations, the banking, or whatever, that I have no faith in it. But somehow they took from that I'm a Trump supporter. So, I mean, I can't be clear in the fact that I don't support either side. I definitely don't support Joe Biden because look at where we're at. We have a mess on our hands and completely created by them. I just don't. I mean, it's really difficult. I like opposing opinions, but it's really difficult for me to understand how people think. I've even got family that think that way, that I guess they're for socialism or Marxism. But see, both sides are terrified of the same thing, but they think the other person's the one who's going to cause it. All I can say is I don't think any of them have that much impact, aside from a very few landmark decisions that were made under some presidencies, perhaps obviously with the ending of slavery and women's right to vote, things like that. Those are pivotal. Those are important. Those are some wins, but we rarely get those. Usually what we get is just a lot of elitists fighting over power and status and money. Well, they just continue to get richer and richer. The whole system's broken, but I've stated that many times. I vote for the person if I, see something. And again, we're going to have things on both sides of the aisle that we agree with and disagree, no matter what. I think that the Bushes were the most crooked, a very crooked regime. I think that I think that's been proven. I also believe that they all are. So, I mean, I've said that. So how somebody took from that, not that that's the worst thing in the world, but for some people, for the tolerant people, and look, I'm an outsider looking in because I'm not left or right, because I can agree and disagree based on each subject matter on its merit. But I can tell you this, the people that, from an outside perspective looking in, the people that claim to be the most tolerant people are the absolute least tolerant people I've ever seen in my life. They literally are the least tolerant people. They throw a tantrum, a hissy fit. I mean, literally like a 2-year-old tantrum if they don't get their way. But I tell you, I mean, both sides are doing a lot of. If you have to prop your candidate up by tearing down the other candidate, then you don't really have much to stand on, do you? You ought to be talking about the merits of your candidates if that's what you want to do. If you think they actually can affect change, rather than constantly just talking about the other candidate, why they're not qualified. Well, tell us why your candidate is qualified. I would worry about any of the current regime making it into another 4 years, only because of the fact that, I mean, again, we had a government that demanded the vaccine And let's just even go with the fact that they didn't individually particularly know. I don't believe that, but let's say they didn't know that it was, wasn't what they said it was, and that, perhaps that the vaccine would do more harm. But, but you still stood by that, and people lost their jobs because of it, their careers in the military and medical industry. But yet, then then like literally right behind that, you're going to leave the borders wide open and just let every unvaccinated person from the entire world walk in. In fact, you're not even going to do more than that. You're going to use our tax money to facilitate that they get here. I don't know why, because there isn't any jobs, there isn't any housing. There are so many reasons not to do that, but they did it, and somehow some people in their head think it's okay. That's a good thing. I don't get it. I'm not here to argue those points, semantics, but I can tell you I do not rest with any party. I've said it before. So the person that lied and ran around and tried to bolster up opposition to somebody and using me because of that, they look at the source. Again, you have the tolerant side of people who are the absolute least tolerant. I mean, it's the hypocrisy is ludicrous. And then somehow I think that perhaps it was alluded to that I'm a racist or a white supremacist. I don't know where that comes from. So I can assure you I'm not. I don't have to really prove it to anybody, but they've got this belief system going on that somehow my family is racist. You ought to talk to my daughter about that because I have two mixed race children with Larry, her husband, and they're absolutely gorgeous, beautiful little princesses. And yeah, no, I pretty much treat him just like every other man, because see, I treat people based on their actions, not their skin color. I wouldn't elect somebody by their sex or their skin color. I would not elect somebody by their sex or skin color. I am the least even remotely closest person to racism as you could imagine, you could even think about. In fact, I think that a lot of times what happens is these people looking for validations because they know they're full of shit and they're running around looking for validation. So they try to get, garner support for whatever they believe for whatever reason, because they don't feel any value otherwise. They know that their ideas are based on lies and opinions. But so what do they worry about? They worry about being exposed. So the more people you can get, to bolster you, then the better off you feel. It doesn't usually work out, and I don't know why they don't see that. But yeah, I think that you could probably check with all of my references with regard to that. And I've got people that I've known since kindergarten because of my hometown, and of course with social media and stuff. And again, aside from my mixed race grandchildren and my African American son-in-law, I think that you should probably do some more research before you start running your mouth. But the problem is the damage would be done because the people that they run their mouths to don't even have the connectivity to even do the research themselves or even want to, because they're willing to believe their friend isn't going to just like go off and misguide and tell a bunch of lies to bolster their position. Take some people longer than others. Hey, I've been fooled before too by some people that I thought were on my side and they weren't. But it could have been because I wrote an article about my mentor, Mr. Black. He had a road name that I didn't like, but he had 49 years in the club, and he was the longest wearing patch member of the club. And I'd only been in this particular club 3 years at the time. We'd rolled about 2/3 of our club into this big club. And then I moved to Florida and I met him, and he became my best friend, my mentor, and he respected me and I respected him. I mean, he counseled with me because I've got a few years of experience myself. But, his name didn't resonate with me. And I write articles in magazines. I was an author in Thunder Roads, Ohio, or Thunder Roads up in Ohio Valley, which is Great Lakes region, and it went to Michigan, Indiana, Pennsylvania, I think, all that. And so I'd written articles about when he passed away. He got cancer, passed away real quick about 5 years ago. And I had said that, his name wasn't something that it resonated with me. So in this time, maybe back then it would, but again, he'd been in longer than me. So I spelled his name as and I asterisk, because it was N baby. That's what they called him. I didn't call him that. So, he respected me enough that I, said, which could be seen as very disrespectful by not calling somebody the road name of 49 years. But I said, I started calling him Mr. Black, based off the Quentin Tarantino movie, Reservoir Dogs. And it stuck and it started spreading. And it turns out there was a lot of people that weren't real comfortable with his name, road name. And even though it's, when you call somebody something for so long, it just becomes second nature. You don't think about the meaning to other people behind those words. I think he felt it too. And but for him to respect me enough to allow me to literally change his road name after 49 years is a tremendous return of respect to me. Again, I think people resonated to it because, maybe they weren't as close to him as I was, but they may have known him longer. But if that was used also as a tool against me, that somehow because of that, again, they don't know the life. They don't have any idea. They don't even know respect because they've never earned any. But again, I would think that, just by nature of the life that we've lived and how I was raised since I was born and the years I spent, with big clubs. And, I've had some adversaries. I mean, you can't exist anywhere. Sometimes it's okay. Sometimes it's an honor to have some people not like you because they're not people you'd want to like you anyway, if that's the way they think. But what I can assure you is that I'm not a mark. I think people come from the outside world, and I say inside world because anybody who's watching this, who's been in a club, a diamond club for any number of years, we know, right? I mean, we are kindred spirits, even if we were adversaries at one time or another, and you'll have that. Sometimes clubs walk together, sometimes they have issues and it separates apart. I happen to be at a good time where we made a lot of relationships with a lot of, top clubs, and their leadership, and I was able to maintain those friendships and their respect once I had, hung my patch up for the last time. But I think that when citizens get involved, and we see it all the time. I mean, I've seen it in bars. I mean, the last person I would think that anybody in their right mind would go up to and start messing with or run their mouth to or inconvenience in any way, shape, or form would be a biker. I don't know. I mean, hey, the patch doesn't make us 10 foot tall and bulletproof. Guaranteed. The man makes the patch doesn't make the man. We've said it. But by gosh, if you've been in there a long time and you've been about it and you came up in it and you've been in leadership, and as I have, and I haven't made a secret of that, I would suggest that that's probably not somebody. I wouldn't go up to a member of a street gang and start just disrespecting him, and then try to make trouble in his life without a damn good reason. And I have to make sure that you have your bases covered, because something that Mr. Black taught me was that in the 70s, I think they were in Flint, Michigan at a bar, and a guy came in with a long, pew pew, and he to rob the place. And he's yelling and comes in the door, and Mr. Black and another brother sitting down at the end of the bar, and a guy turns and looks at them, and he's like, "Oh, excuse me, I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry, sir," or something like that. He's like, I'm not talking to you guys. I didn't mean to bother you. You have your beer, you drink your beer, and they just looked at him, didn't say a word. He went to drinking their beer, and he finished his business and left. And he said, Mr. Black said, what that guy learned a lesson that day. I go, what was that? He said, when you walk in a room and you think you're the biggest bully in the room, you better make damn sure you're the biggest bully in the room, because you may not be the biggest bully in the room. So I think that people run around and they manipulate other people to turn against you. That's a bully. A bully doesn't have to be somebody with a long pew, and I prefer to call them cameras. The pew pew thing they use all social media, I can't stand that. It's much more than that. But it's a camera because it takes a flash, and that's what we always call them. But anyway, sometimes being a bully is just manipulating people. And the problem is once you've done that damage, it's hard to even ever undo it. People that don't even know you or that person are going to have a ill thought of you of them from the get-go, whether they've ever met them or talked to them, and they're going to turn them against them or whatever, all for personal gain. And that's a narcissist and a bully. And again, it's somebody from the tolerant side of life that says that that are the most intolerant people I've ever seen in my entire life, and it's hypocritical. It really is. But so I think I've covered most of that. Let's see. I'm not a Trump supporter, but I sure as hell ain't voting for anyone else based on their sex or their ethnicity. I mean, I wouldn't vote against or for anyone for that. It's going to be experience and whether I believe in their platform. But then again, the truth to me is it doesn't matter because it's all scripted and I mean, that's just me. That's my opinion. I've said that enough that I don't know how anyone would confuse that. And I'm definitely not racist. I got plenty of reasons not to be and no reasons to be. I don't know if I have anything else. I can tell you that I hang around with real people. I know real people. I don't think a lot of people know real people. I've met a lot of fake. Trust me, it takes a lot of weeding to get through, even in the club life. The people that are about it and don't just talk about it. And see that's something that's ingrained in your soul and your being and who you are. It's not like bikers or real 1%ers or people that live their life. It's not like they're playing a role. It's not like golfing or tennis or softball team. It's literally is who they are. I happen to be one of those people, and I have plenty of friends around me that are the same people. They're cut from the same cloth. Whether they're in the clubs or they're still leaders of the clubs, and many are, and some have retired, some have stepped out. But they are the realest people that will put it all on the line and have put it on the line. The ones that when we left our organization, and I won't talk about why, and you'll never really hear me mention a club name, very rarely, any other's club name, because that's just not what the code's about. It's not what the life's about. I know there are some podcast platforms that basically just tell the news of the day and they're constantly talking about their club business. That's absolutely wrong. I mean, in my opinion, I was raised differently. Again, I'm not raised the same as most people, and a lot of people, even though they're in clubs. But I was always taught that the only club name that should come out of your mouth ever in public is your own, and not no one else's. But yet, I see platforms that just out there talking about other clubs' business, even if it's in the news. It doesn't matter. You don't repeat it. You don't carry on that torch of negativity towards another club. I guess unless you got nothing in the game, which means to me that you're not real. Because anyone who values the respect and the respect that they've earned or wants to earn respect doesn't do that. But anyway, so hopefully my stalker has seen this. I hope that they make it right, because I don't know why they don't know this about us, all of us in the MC life, especially in the life that we've led. But we don't take kindly to that. And we are people of action. We're not pacifists, I assure you. And we're pretty relentless. And I know a lot of, I mean, hell, just the guys that we left the club, our own club and other clubs started calling us the Sinister Six, because we would stand up at all costs and risk everything for each other, and we still will. So I guess it's sort of fitting, but yeah, I don't know. Amazes me. Maybe people just don't know. But I think in general, you shouldn't go around picking fights with people if you don't know them, because some of them can just bring. They have the resources to bring just a litany of negativity and bad energy to your life. But I would expect that person to probably maybe right the wrongs that they did, and if they can, but I doubt they can. I doubt they will. But sometimes they have to learn things the hard way. Hell, I've learned things the hard way. So, but anyway, I just want to set the record straight in case anybody else was wondering. But I'm pretty sure it's just one little segment of somebody who's a little miffed about the fact that they aren't qualified to be who they want to be, and so they say they're going to try to fuck around and find out. Well, you came to the right place. Keep it real.